It was only a matter of time before someone used the new Strix Halo and made a Mac Studio clone, and here it is, Beelink did it. This is now the 4th Ryzen AI Plus Max 395 mini computer that I've unboxed. There's the framework, there's the Ace Magic, and then there was the rival. And everyone has had its own spin on its form factor. But these guys are unapologetically going for the Mac Studio look. Woo! All right, let's open this whole thing up. Thank you for your choice. During the system boot process, if you cannot log into your personal account, please turn off Wi-Fi and LAN. Okay, hey, at least they're giving you a heads up. Man, this really is just a Mac Studio. Holy cow, oh my gosh. Okay, I'll get into it more in just a little bit. I wanna see what else is in the box. You've got your manual, which actually tells you how to swap out the SSDs if you want. Something you can't do on a Mac Studio. And oh man, even their power cable is kind of like Apple. This is like a 6-foot long cable with pretty standard, so you could swap that out if you want. That's pretty nice. They have spare Wi-Fi FPC and speaker FPC cables. I'm not quite sure why they would give you spare ones. My only guess, I haven't actually opened this up yet, but I do wonder if, because the fan is on the bottom here, maybe when we unscrew this, if there's a chance at ripping that cable. If that's the case, hey, that's kind of cool that they included some spare ones so you don't have to acquire them later, but they should also probably figure out how to design it so I wouldn't rip one of these. And the last cable that they include in the box is, it's a small, probably like 3-foot HDMI cable. As for the computer itself, on the front here, we have a power button, which doubles as a fingerprint sensor. Kind of cool if you're someone who likes Windows Hello. Might be a little weird if it's just off to the side and you're kind of awkwardly reaching like that, but hey, it's built in, which is super, super cool. You also have your 3.5mm combo jack, you have a full-size SD card reader, and a USB-C port. Now this USB-C port is 10 gigabit a second, so nothing crazy like Thunderbolt speed, but front I/O, beautiful for quick access. And as for the back, you get another audio jack if you were into that sort of thing. Obviously your power connector, USB 4 and USB 4, that's right, there's 2 of them. And both of these ones go up to 40 gigabit a second, so blazing fast speed. Our HDMI and our DisplayPort here are both 2.1, that's HDMI 2.1 and DisplayPort 2.1. Dual LAN ports, and these are 10 gigabit a second ports. 10 gig LAN, freaking fantastic. That's really great for these machines. If you're using it as an AI machine, or maybe you cluster a bunch of them together, having that fast connection is fantastic. And then finally, we have USB 3.2. We have 2 of the ports on the side there. Plenty of I/O. This thing is stacked for all of your needs. Another thing that's very clear on the back is just how much ventilation room there is. And if you get real close and look in there, man, you can see all the fan grills in there. It's hopefully means it won't overheat. That's something we have seen that's very common on some of the small form factors with this Ryzen chip. Framework was a great example of something that didn't overheat because it managed to fit a full-size 120mm Noctua fan in there, for example. And in terms of ventilation, all of the intake is on the bottom. Again, very similar to the Mac Studio. Man, this thing is a striking image. Like, it is. Are they using the same factory? Like, man, it is very close. One more thing I forgot to point out, I just noticed on the front here, you can see these 4 little dots. Those are actually microphones. They have them built in directly into the computer, so you don't even need to use the combo jack. That's kind of cool. I'm not really sure why you'd want 4 microphones on the front of your computer. I feel like you could get away with 1. Hey, maybe that's just me. As for what's inside, I am gonna try opening it later in the video, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But like I mentioned at the very beginning, it's powered by the Ryzen AI Plus Max 395 chip, which is a 16-core 32-thread, boosts all the way up to 5.1 gigahertz, and our spec has 128 gigs of RAM. And that's at 8,000 mega transfers per second, which obviously to achieve that speed with this chip means it is soldered. Womp womp. We also have a 2 terabyte drive in ours. Saying that, you can upgrade yours because there are dual slots in the bottom. Again, we'll find that out when we open it. As for some of the other specs, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, which I believe is also a card that you could upgrade. Again, we'll wait and see in a second. But that's it. These mini PCs are pretty bare bones. There's not much else to talk about just looking at them. What I really want to talk about is how it performs. So I think we need to kind of boot this thing up and see how it does. But not before I tell you about our sponsor, Road safety and protecting your car is important regardless of the time of day, and Redtiger's F7NA dual dashcam has night vision without light disturbance. And this is thanks to the true 4K that you get using the Sony IMX678 sensor on the front. And you're also going to get smoother playback and clearer freeze frames from your recordings. It also has 20 megabyte a second transmission speeds over Wi-Fi 6 and a simple to use touchscreen. Protect every journey with the Redtiger True 4K dashcam and save 15% up until the 23rd. The links and the code are in the video description. Hey, there we go. We're in. A couple things that Labs noted when they first got this thing powered on. One was the Windows version that it had was very, very out of date. So if you decide to pick up one of these, make sure you go through the whole process of updating your system and everything. Saying that, remember that little warning that the plastic film had at the beginning about connecting to the internet? What you should do is you should finish setting it up out of box before connecting it to the internet, get to the Windows interface, then plug it into the web and update. This can often save you time during the initial setup, which is awesome. You guys all want to save time. Plus it makes it so you don't have to frickin' sign over your Microsoft information during the setup. Also a W. And another thing that Labs noticed when they started their testing, which I'm gonna get into the numbers in a bit, was this thing was performing pretty terribly. And that's because the machine out of the box was in more of an eco mode. If you remember from some of the other 395 chip computers, there's quite often a couple of different modes you can configure it in. The Ace Magic actually had a knob on the front that you could turn in order to change between the modes. This one does not, so we had to go into the BIOS to make sure we were in performance mode, and then once we were there, we were able to hit the 140 watts on the chip that they advertise on their website. In some cases, we actually got a little bit higher. We'll get into that a little bit later. Now we should be in the performance mode already because that's what it was left off by Labs, but I want to boot into the BIOS just to make sure. I also want to double check how much RAM is being allocated to our GPU. Again, another amazing feature about these 395 chips is that you can change how much RAM is used for your CPU versus how much RAM is going to be VRAM for your GPU. By default, it was configured to have the maximum amount on the GPU, which was 96 gigs of VRAM, which is like 3 times more than a 5090. For our testing sake, when you see the numbers, we change it so that they're all the same across all the 395 chips. Man, this is a very bare bone BIOS. And by bare bone, I mean it's visually boring, but it looks like you've also got every single fucking option under the sun, which is a good thing. Alrighty, looks like our settings are all good. So we're gonna exit here, and now we'll game. I guess we'll do our classic, which is always Cyberpunk. All right, so we're 1440p with everything basically set to high/ultra. Let's see how it does. Let's go for a rip, bud. And we're getting about 50 FPS average, 45 in the 1% lows. Kind of in line with the rest of the 395 family that we've tested, you know. We also are on 1440p. You will get higher frame rate if you bump it down to 1080p, which maybe we should do, because I don't know, I find 60 FPS is kind of the bare minimum now for video games. I think there are some titles you can get away with maybe doing 30 FPS if it's more of a cinematic game or something, but Cyberpunk I would want at least 60. Saying that though, this is pretty quiet. I almost don't hear it. I have to like go completely silent in this quiet studio space before I can actually hear it. Even just a casual conversation immediately drowns this out. That's a huge plus for me, personally. I feel like a lot of mini PCs start screaming, so. As for our Labs results on the gaming performance, it's funny because remember how I said it performed kind of poorly at first? Well, when they ran those tests, like I mentioned, it was in balance mode. So they reran them in the performance mode as well. That way you guys can actually see how much of a difference it makes. And between the performance mode and the framework desktop, it was very close, but the framework desktop was the winner in both 1080p and in 1440p. In ray tracing, they were basically the exact same. But as you can see on the graphs here, you can see how much of a difference turning it into performance mode actually makes. You can get quite a few extra FPS on it. Maybe not at the ray tracing mark though, because again, it's not really meant for that. But these are mean little 1080p, 1440p gaming machines. Again, I don't think that's what most people will use these types of computers for. They're definitely meant for crazy performance tasks that require a huge amount of VRAM, whether that's video editing or, you know, local AI stuff. As for some of those performance tasks that I just mentioned, both in Cinebench and in Photoshop, this little guy actually outperformed the framework once you had the performance mode and PBO enabled. It fell just slightly behind in some AI text generation, but overall, I would say that if you balance those two out, this thing was on par with the framework desktop, which has been kind of our gold standard when it comes to these machines. One of the areas it did fall behind though was in max temperature. This little guy got quite a bit hotter than the framework desktop. Saying that, it was drawing more power than the framework desktop by about 20 watts, and it was even boosting much higher, both on average and its max boost on that CPU. Maybe that's a trade-off that's worth it though, because again, it's not even that loud for the amount of heat that it might be outputting. I think that could be worth it for you. Saying that, that thermals and clock test was done in F1 2024. In Cinebench 2024, it was also still a little warmer and a little bit higher core clocks, but it wasn't as significant as just the gaming. But that's all good and dandy. I want to rip this thing open. Now, I was about to rip this open, but I just noticed I don't see any screws, but thankfully in the manual, it literally tells you, remove the 4 silicon plugs on the bottom vent cover, then unscrew it. Okay, let's get those out. Huh, these are really tough to get out of here. Oh, I was not going deep enough. Oh, okay, so that's kind of what the little plug looks like. It's really hard to see, but in order to get under it, you kind of want a really small bit. So you can go all the way down the side and get under. There we go. Okay. I was just using too big of a bit before, but I was scared of going smaller because I didn't want to puncture the little silicon. Oh, actually, I want to make sure I'm careful. Hold on. I think this might be where the cable is. Disconnect speaker ribbon cable. Oh yeah, you can see right there. So I got to be just a little bit careful here. There you go. Just burped the little baby. Oh yeah, that ribbon cable does not have a lot of room. I do not know how I'm gonna get that out without ripping it. Oh, there's one on each side. Oh crap. There it is. You can see the ribbon cable is a little bit better now with my light, but they do not give you a lot of room. So I'm gonna try to undo it very carefully. Okay, I got that cable open. Oh, this cable is screwed in, so I don't know how I'm gonna actually be able to get that out very nicely. I'll try. These are very small screws. You do not want to lose these screws. Alrighty, there we go. I got my speaker module unplugged. It was 2 cables just at the bottom here. As for the rest of the machine, I'm gonna make sure I put these tiny, tiny screws. Look at how small these are. Holy cow, dude. Like this is it compared to a precision kit. Woo! You do not want to lose those. I'm gonna put these to the side. But there's the computer. It's so pretty, isn't it? I'm trying to see if we can see. Oh yeah, look, oh, under here. We can go deeper. This is where you pull off this little heatsink. Boom, there's your M.2 upgrades. As you can see, we have our one M.2 here. Plug in a second one right here. On the front, this little daughter board here is for the USB-C and the SD card reader, as well as your headphone jack, your fingerprint and power button ribbon cable right there. These look like your Wi-Fi card antennas. I don't know actually where the Wi-Fi card is. It's probably on the other side of this board. Sure, I guess. Okay. Wow, look at the power. There's our power cables. They're kind of tiny. I mean, it makes sense with the CPU only drawing 163 watts as our labs tested, or the whole power supply in here itself being 230 watts. And in terms of cooling, I'm kind of surprised by the design layout. I mean, you have this big frickin' grill on the bottom here, right? To suck in as much air as you can, and then it just goes immediately like into a board. The fans are actually down here, if I can catch the light. There they are, you can see them down there. It's not a lot of room to pass air through, but I mean, even just having some passive airflow on the back will help. But I guess it also makes sense because around the rim here, there's no exhaust. So it has to go this way if it wants to exhaust properly out the back. This looks so cool though. I love the look of the small form factor PCs, man. I think this is so freaking sick. I want to go deeper, but I don't have enough time for today. That's okay though. Maybe you guys have enough time to let me know down below if you guys like these mini form factor PCs. Even though a lot of them are the same, using the same chip, for example, I think it's kind of cool to see all of the different companies design them slightly different and seeing how much that design actually impacts the performance. Another choice that might affect your decision on which one you're gonna buy, other than just the physical design, is the price. And this one, whoo! Our exact config, $4,400 US. Damn, dude. It's still a little bit cheaper than the one it's clearly trying to compete with, which is the Mac Studio. And I mean, literally as of filming yesterday, Apple silently just discontinued some of the Mac Studios that offer 128 gigs of RAM. The current one you can get is the M3 Ultra, which has 96 gigs of RAM, and that one starts just $6,000 US. I mean, sure, it's easy to compare price when you're comparing to Apple often because it's usually more expensive, but $4,400, man, that is a, big pill to swallow for a computer like this, especially when the computer is the size of some pills, you know? But let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, maybe go check out any of the other 395 plus computers I've unboxed. One of them was called the Rival, and we cracked a joke that we didn't play Marvel Rivals on the Rival.